Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today we have a knife review, and that is of the Kershaw Reverb. Pretty cool, actually a really cool looking knife. So we'll go over some specs, compare it to some other knives, and test it out with the ugly brown glove. So first off, this knife is 6.125 inches long. For the overall length, the blade length is 2.625 inches in blade length. The overall handle length is 3.625 inches, and the handle thickness is 0.32 inches thick. The weight on this knife, which is a huge selling point, is 1.6 ounces. So it's a very light, slim, compact knife. And the blade steel on this is 8CR13 MOV, okay, which is pretty standard for Kershaw budget blades. So that being said, this is the Reverb. It has a very futuristic, cool looking design. It has a lot of cool geometric lines and shapes and stylization to it. But surprisingly, this knife is actually designed for the outdoor user, or backpacking, hiking, and camping. At least that's the description I read. Now, given just based on aesthetics and first looks at the knife, I would never guess this to be more of an outdoors knife. If anything, I would kind of consider it more of an urban carry knife. But it could work in a multitude of capacities. So starting with the blade, they call it a modified drop point. I think it kind of is a mix between a drop point and a Wharncliffe. It is a hollow grind. It is a plain edge that kind of has a continuous sweep up, not a ton of belly, but it has a slight curve to the blade that looks really nice. It got a lot of different angles here, with kind of a thumb divot there, another angle, and then drops. And then within the blade, it is a two-tone with a satin finish and a PVD or something coating. But either way, it gives it a really cool look, and it just really stylizes the knife really well. Yeah, it's a PVD finish. On the back side, we just have the one flat, and then the 8CR13 MOV, and it's made in China. On the other side, we do have this groove milled into the blade, and that's going to actually act as the thumb catch. So it's fairly sharp here, and that actually catches the thumb, and that is what you use to open the knife. There are no thumb studs, and it's not spring assisted. That being said, moving into the handle, there's a ton of style in the handle. We have a really cool looking stylized pivot pin there. It just looks really neat. Then we have these kind of contoured front handle scale. Now, it's carbon fiber G10 laminate, so majority of the scale is G10, and then it has a carbon fiber layer laid over it, which gives it a very classy and modern look. If you look in here, I'm not sure if the camera will be able to pick it up, but the Kershaw branding is right on the lock bar. This is very similar to the Buck Apex as far as the locking mechanism goes, where it's a frame lock, but the actual part that sticks up and locks the blade isn't exposed. So you still have a solid, rigid frame that doesn't fluctuate or move, but then you have that other leaf of the frame that springs up on the interior. So even if you're holding it, you're not going to compress that lock from just grabbing the profile of it, which is nice, and it's a very nice feature. And I like that the Kershaw logo is printed on in there. It keeps the overall look and design, especially when it's closed, very sleek and modern looking, and it isn't over branded. So it is a frame lock. It is flow through construction, as you can see. Moving on to the other side, we just have the two-tone motif kind of going through the back. We do have some Kershaw branding on this small pocket clip, and the nice thing about it is a deep carry pocket clip. Now I will say this, when I got this knife, the pocket clip was extremely tight, so I had to kind of pry under there and bend it out a little. I was very careful. You always want to be careful when you're doing that because you don't want to snap the pocket clip, but I bent it out a little just so it would slide into my pocket better. But that was one gripe with that. On that, it terminates with a carabiner. This adds more functionality to backpacking. You could just hook it on a strap or whatever. Though I will say, depending on how thick the material that you're trying to hook on it is, might prevent it from hooking. So I really had to work a little harder to get it around a belt loop when I was using it. But other than that, it does function well. My only gripe as far as fit and finish is done really well. Centering's great. Is the actual tail pin here that actually secures the pocket clip and whatnot seems to be slightly stripped out. There's, exposed metal, so I don't know if they over tightened it and if I'll be able to remove that or not, but it is what it is. So there's that. Quick comparisons. Now obviously the obvious comparison is to the Buck Apex. I mean, this came out I think 2015 or 16, and this reverb I think was newer, late 2016, 2017. Whatever, there's multiple knives out there besides these two brands that actually have a very similar design, but there is a carbon fiber model of the Apex, and besides, I love this knife, so we'll throw that up there. We also have the Schrade SCH 106, and we'll throw this one out there because this is a true woodsman knife there. So as you can see, if we line them up here, it's going to be most similar to the Apex, though blade length on the North Fork and the Schrade are a little bit longer. Handle lengths are longer for those two as well. As far as blade thickness goes, this is a slim, lightweight knife, so the North Fork is definitely bigger there. The Apex, it looks like the Kershaw might be a hair thicker in blade, but it's pretty close. It's off by just a millimeter. And then the Schrade is about the same. Handle thickness, we'll go back to this. It looks fairly similar, but I think the Buck is just slightly bigger. And I'll do a comparison of these two later. Other than that, time for the ugly brown glove test. As far as grip, there's a little bit of grip on the exposed G10 part, but not much. Obviously, the carbon fiber is very slick. Okay, it feels good as far as opening it. That sharp edge on that blade catches the glove enough. Other than that, once it's in hand, there's no jimping or anything to lock it in, nowhere on the knife. So it is actually really slick that way. Other than this little groove locking in my one finger, it does slip. Even if I grip tight, I mean, whatever. But this knife is meant for light duty, so I don't blame it. So now, with that, see if we can close it. Open it again. So it is doable. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I'll give it 75%. It is good enough, and it's lightweight. So there you have it, guys. This is the Kershaw Reverb. Really nice, lightweight knife. Affordable. If I didn't say the price point already, it's about 20 bucks, give or take. I'll put links in the description below So if you want to check it out. Other than that, please like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to check out the other 2 videos here. Click that subscribe button. Check the eye in the upper right hand corner for other videos. And thank you, and I'll see you outside.